Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to make fettuccine quattro formaggi. This is a very underrated recipe that not many people know about it, but today I'm going to show it how it's done and develop its flavors. So, let's get going.
Okay, so we're going to start with a box of pasta, but oh, it's empty, so I guess I'll do it my own. I am going to put inside a bowl about 2 cups of flour, in which I'm going to arrange them in such way that I would be able to drop some liquid in there. And by liquid I mean 3 whole eggs that I'm going to crack, and after that I'm going to get a bowl and try to remove the yolk from the actual egg and put that in. We want only the yolk because yolk has more protein in it and it's better for the color. Also, I'm going to mix it and try to emulsify the egg. By pushing the flour in the back forward, we are going to ensure a very good mix. This is what we need in order to create. We are going to do this with a fork for us not to get dirty until we are not being able to. After that, we are going to take it by hand and continue kneading it. When you're abandoning the fork and you're using your hands, make sure you rub them with flour in order for the dough not to stick on you, obviously. And after that, you are going to form it into a denser package in order not to stick. You may actually seem that in some parts it will stick. There's no problem. You are going to put as much flour as needed in order for the dough not to stick to the surface. It should feel tacky, but definitely not doughy. It should feel like Play-Doh. After that, we are able to move back to the counter and dump the plate, and we are flouring our work surface in order to put the dough in. We're going to form this dough by kneading it. The kneading develops the gluten. The gluten, what does it do? It will make us easier and to roll, and the texture will be definitely better. You may see that the dough has maybe stick to the surface. That way there's no problem. You are going to put some flour in it. That's only thing you are going to do. There's no other way. Trying to wash it down would not help it. So we're going to need it for about 5 to 6 minutes until we're going to change our kneading strategy. This time we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to knead it more aggressively. Kneading it more aggressively means that the gluten forms faster and it will help you. I'm going to fast forward this because it's boring. I'm doing this for about 10 minutes. But in the meantime, make sure the dough is not underhydrated, I mean not a lot of flour, or not overhydrated, which is less flour. I'm going to let it rest by putting a bag in it for airtight and some tablecloth on top for a bit dark. And now I'm letting it rest for about 30 minutes.
Okay, so now that we have this to rest, I'm going to make the amazing bechamel sauce out of this homemade farm milk that had to be simmered, of course, but this one will help us develop great flavors along with this amazing nutmeg. A base for the sauce is a roux. This is for getting it thicker. I'm going to put some butter and some olive oil for the butter not to burn and wait for it to melt. After that, I'm going to put to eye some flour in order not to look too lumpy, but it should form like a thick paste. Mix that in, and after that you can start adding milk in small portions. We do this not to create a lot of lumps. Speaking of lumps, you may see that it would be a bit lumpy at first, as you can see right here, but as soon as more as you cook it, it will smoothen down, definitely. Also, please don't be afraid of the thickness of it. You may see that it may be a bit too thin. That will be fixed if let enough to simmer on the stove. I let the bechamel reduce on the stove. I'm going to prepare the 4 cheeses. Since this is quattro formaggi, this means that I'm going to use 4 classic Italian cheese. That is brie, which I'm cutting right now. Fast forward. I'm going to grate on the big side of the grater some mozzarella,
This I'm going to grate a lot, and since it's not that interesting, I'm going to do it in fast forward. Some parmigiano reggiano. This stuff is really good to eat by itself. I'm going to use the smaller grater just because it will be in sharper. It is a sharper cheese itself, and it's salty. After that, I'm going to put in the majestic gorgonzola. This is very famous for being used at this recipe. Now I'm going to season the mixture with pepper, a bit of oregano, and the most important, cumin. Don't season with salt yet. Wait for the cheeses to be melted inside, because salt, we need to use it after everything is added. Because if you salt it and one ingredient is added more, the salt may not be enough. So make sure you proportion your seasoning right. After making sure that we put every cheese, every scrap of the cheese, even from the cutting board, in the pan, I'm going to mix it with the milk sauce, which is called a bechamel. This will create amazing cheese sauce. Providing the cheeses, the Italian cheeses that we used, the taste will be different. It will not taste like a regular mac and cheese sauce. It will be a lot better. Don't be afraid, I know there's a lot of lumps, but when you see the cheesiness that is going to create after that, the lumps are only there because the cheese is not melted. Once the cheese is melted, you will be able to make a very creamy sauce like this. Look at it. Let's take another look. Oh my god, it looks amazing. Just make sure you don't let it cool down, because if it cools, it will split and the sauce will taste like sand. Now let's taste it to see if we need any seasoning, and since we put not a lot of parmigiano, which is salty, we are going to season it with some salt, and I am going to mix that in. And basically the sauce is almost ready, and we are going to continue with the pasta that we left to rest. Once again, I'm putting flour on my work surface and spreading it nice and evenly. And now I'm going to get my dough from resting. Make sure it stayed at least 30 minutes in the dark for the gluten to develop. Now put some flour on your rolling pin and start rolling it. You roll it in a forward and back motion until it is a bit long and you are able to put it into a letter style. I'm going to forward this because I'm doing it several times for more layers to be formed. Now if you have a pasta machine, this is the time to use it. I have one, but I decided to use it by hand to show it to you that you can do and obtain this. Now this is the crude form of it. I'm going to roll it until voila, I have a perfectly thin dough. And please take a look to appreciate this amazing shot of the dough. After that, make sure that each part of the dough is even, because you may have and you may result into a thinner surface and to a bigger surface. After you're done, you obtain this, an amazing thing. Let's take a moment and put your hands above. And how can you see if your pasta dough is right? If you put your hand underneath and if you see your hand. Doing the same test with the knife, we may see that we are able to form it in pasta. We chose today fettuccine. Why fettuccine? Because they are bigger. They're not like spaghetti, like small things. I'm going to use fettuccine because they are better. After folding the dough in a rectangular shape, I'm going to trim off the unwanted pasta that will give us bad shapes. And I'm going to show you two methods of how to cut your pasta. By slow gliding motion, or you can take a bigger knife, which you have to make sure that it's very sharp, and do it in one single hard moving motion. After finishing the cutting procedure, I'm going to transfer them onto a rectangular cutting board, and I'm going to show you my personal trick that I use. I'm going to put them into a star formation. By doing this, I am ensuring that there will be an easy grabbing point. There will be no problem. I'm going to salt the water that we're going to put the pasta boil.
So this is the final product. The product that we are going to put it back into the pan in order to let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes at max. This is the beauty of home cooked pasta. You can literally cook it in about 1 minute. It's amazing and it looks gorgeous. Look at it.
As I was saying, you may see that it's very easy to pick them up and put them inside the almost boiling water. Since these are fresh pasta, it will take very little to cook. Put some cooking water that contains starch into the sauce. Don't put too much because we already have the flour, remember, from creating the bechamel sauce. And mix it in. Start the fire on the stove, also on the sauce right now, because the pasta is almost ready. You may see that we're going to pick them up with a set of skewers. This is easier. And don't worry about the actually water getting in more, because I told you the water is actually doing a favor for the sauce. It will help it thicken up. Now I'm going to play this amazing recipe. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to plate it. I know I'm not Italian enough. I'm going to plate it with much care as I can, even though I kind of screwed up. But after that, I'm going to finish it with some pieces of parmigiano. Put some more sauce in case it's not enough and you want it more on the sides. And as I was saying, put some parmesan on top of the pasta dish. And there you have it. Put some pepper in for taste and for aspect. And there you have it, an amazing pasta. Take this screenshot and enjoy it.
So now, guys, it came up to tasting and see the fruits of our labor. Let's try it. Let's try a big piece. Oh my god, the pasta is perfectly cooked. It's al dente. It's amazing. I really suggest you to try this at home. It's the best thing you'll ever have. Forget about any other tomato pasta and stuff like this. Try this one. I can't recommend it enough. So thank you guys for being right here. I will see you next time, I guess, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and put that notification button on, and of course see the recipes below. Thank you so much. See you next time.